Boy, you have covered the whole gamut, is that the word, of the way the things are moving in this world. And do I have any specific answers or solutions to any of those things which you raised? My answer is no. I have opinions on everything in this world, from disease to divinity. And the only thing I can do is to focus and spotlight what is the basic thing that we are confronting today in this world. All those phrases that they are using, whether they are the religious people or politicians or economists, psychologists, scientists and doctors, they are all empty words and empty phrases. They are all very clever people, and I don't like the word concept, you see. The word concept makes it very difficult for us to look at things exactly the way they are. And what all I can do is to focus and spotlight what really is the problem. If you look back to our history, you are very certain that nothing has changed in the decades that we have lived through. I give you the example of the First World War. They waged the war to make the world safe for democracy. What happened? It gave birth to communism, fascism, Nazism, and all and every kind of isms, and it did not free the world from wars. And the Second World War, they all talked of making the world safe for democracy. I really don't know what exactly the people mean when they talk of democracy. Personally, I do not believe in democracy at all. And those who talk of democracy and try to impose what they call democracy on other nations are probably practicing democracy at home. And what we see in the world around and outside of those nations who claim that they are democratic nations, we find that it is democracy that we find today. You see, I don't know, there may be democracy at home, but the expression of so-called democracy outside of those nations who always talk of democratic institutions, and the absence of democracy in other countries resulted only in democracy, not democracy, but demonocracy of every shade, shape and color. You may say that I am a cynic, but a cynic's feet are very firmly fixed on the ground. He is not swayed by any of these concepts, fantasies that these people are talking about. You talk of human rights. Do they have the human rights in those countries which are forcing other countries to follow what they call the human rights? As I see, as one who has been everywhere in every part of the world can say that their preachings have no foundation at all. They themselves do not practice what they are talking about. I don't know if I make myself clear.
I can put in different words what you have said.
Yeah.
And I think
you must help me to bring out something.
Yes.
You see,
and
I have
this much I have noted also.
Yes.
Can I say in different words? Because your answer will be more specific. I put you counter question.
All right.
After Second World War, democracy, democratic institutions, and human rights, and market forces, all these words were used by United States and other West European countries. The institutions were simply against imperialism. To see new era should be end of imperialism, and the people's right of choosing the type of government should go to people.
Yeah, but one thing we don't realize is that after the collapse of all the empires, we may not like to use the word fascism, imperialism, and all those words which we condemned and waged the war to save the world from such institutions, have been imposed on other nations in a different garb. They may not like, the Americans are the worst imperialistic nation in the world. It all depends upon how you define the word imperialism. I always maintain why a nation that has only 250 million people should exploit the resources of the world and consume 26% or 25% of the world's resources over and above what their resources can give them. I don't know if I make myself clear. You see, many people who hear me talk in this strain ask me this question: why you are writing off the United States? You see, it's not a question of writing off the United States, but I have a feeling that they are all empty words. You see, the same old ideas. The whole thing is economic. No matter what you say, you can divide them into political institutions, economic institutions, religious things, scientific thinking, all and every kind, but basically, essentially and fundamentally, it is the economic issues that are involved in our dealings with one another, from one nation to another nation. I don't know if it makes any sense.
I will do like that.
Yeah.
What you have said, I also feel like that people may interpret you that you are talking something against North America or West European countries. But I can summarize like that. What you see, even after the end of imperialism, especially during Second World War and after Second World War, we found technological revolution in technology, science and technology. Resources increased, multiplied like anything. In food, consumption, communication, everywhere, energy. And those countries which were talking about democracy against communism and against fascism, because this victory of the Second World War was against fascism, and victory was by democratic countries in alliance with communist state of Russia. What I say, you are not criticizing like that Western countries or West European countries. What you are saying, essentially, even after the end of Second World War, even after the end of imperialism, economic factors are guiding North America and Western Europe, and all economic and political institutions are created around economic interest. So all efforts of United Nations to provide global support or cooperation to developing countries, that is not giving fruits to the people. Another thing, what I am telling you, we oppose fascism, and North American and West European countries oppose communism also, because democracy was denied. But I feel that purpose of fight against fascism and communism is lost after North American and West European countries. As you have rightly said, they are allowing their people to consume a good percentage of production and progress to the people of their countries only, and not to millions of people of Africa, Latin America and Asia Pacific. Another thing which has come in the garb of democracy, you are not going to support third world countries or countries of Africa, Latin America and Asia Pacific, which are developing countries, if they are behaving in a very repressive way. What is your view about national governments of developing countries which are not functioning democratically and they are relying more and more on military force, police, and they are misappropriating national wealth for their own welfare?
It is very difficult for me to give specific answers to the specific questions you are raising, you see, because I really don't have any answers to the questions which you raised. And second thing is that I'm not competent enough to throw any particular light on any of the fields we are involved in. I don't know if it makes clear. As I see it, that for centuries these so-called Western nations, democratic nations, have been exploiting the whole world. The whole geographical situations may have changed. When once you see the threat to their institutions, like democracy, is not there anymore, to stop them in their tracks, they would not hesitate to blackmail and bully all the other nations in the name of democracy, in the name of four freedoms: freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of what is the fourth one? You know. So all these freedoms they are talking about is a sham mockery. Whatever they have accomplished and attained through the help of technology, that has not what's the word? Percolated, if I may use that high-sounding word, to the level of the common man.
Time magazine says usually a sophisticated, increasingly affluent world currently coexists with a marginalized global underclass.
The same thing.
But there is the voice of Mr. Clinton which I must play to you.
Yeah.
Clinton sought to articulate the brighter prospects in a recent statement to world economic leaders as, this is the voice of Mr. Clinton. Today, as never before, we can see the extraordinary possibilities that lie before us in the 21st century. It promises to be an era in which free people working across open borders will have a chance to create growing prosperity and economic security, to fulfill their God-given potential and their dreams as never before in human history. What the journalist goes on to say is, what is certain is that even if America's power is diminished as compared with the immediate post-war era, the US still exercises more influence than any other country over the world economy. Like it or not, as the millennium approaches, it is still up to America to lead and to lead in the right direction.
They
This is
are,
the latest Time magazine.
that is.
So I mean, it seems to be saying that America, though now cut down to its size by the recent events, still seems to be, unfortunately, in the position to steer the history of the world.
Yeah, if they don't voluntarily and gracefully give up their domination over all the nations so far, we have no way of forcing them to do it yet.
But you think there will be a way?
There will come a time when all the might they have, which they are of course using it, using all those empty words and empty phrases. It's nothing but a sham mockery, all those phrases, written by one fellow who is preparing all the speeches for him.
This is part of the American propaganda?
The American propaganda.
Really,
American propaganda. I am not against America. I have spent more years in the United States than anywhere in this world.
But this is the
And I
voice
tell
of those affluent class.
And I no,
this is the voice of that affluent class.
that is all right. You see, that's probably the way they want the things to be. But are we in a position to stop them in their tracks? You see, Russia has been totally and completely destroyed because the Joker handed over in a gold platter what these mighty nations failed to achieve. And what is the result there? It is a beggar nation today. I am not interested in either communism or democracy or any of these political ideologies, because they're all empty words and empty phrases as I am concerned. They are using those phrases to fool themselves and fool everybody. Do you understand? So, the only thing that they will understand is force. Nothing else, you see, makes them see and understand that these people are one day going to have force to stop them in their tracks. You know, as long as it is possible for them to get away with it, they are going to do it. Are we in a position to stop them in their tracks? Do we have the means to stop them? They are not going to listen to your stories. They are not going to listen to your words. You see, what matters to them is that they must still continue to exploit the whole world they have been exploiting for these 2 centuries. Are they going to give up? All these are empty phrases. They don't mean a damn thing to the man who is there in the streets. All these scientific achievements you are talking about doesn't percolate to the level of the common man. He is not interested in all these empty phrases. He is interested in basic things: food, clothing and shelter.
Gigi, one thing I may just ask you.
Yes, sir.
What Mr. Weisbert has asked you, and he has quoted Clinton's speech or
Yes, yeah. The Clinton's words.
towards this social development conference in Copenhagen, and this is American view, and I can say it is a North American and West European view also. I see history of 10 years last, especially after the diminishing of the influence of Russia and communist world. That threat of suicidal approach by developing countries, as it was done by Saddam Hussein, it was repeated by North Korea by threatening United States. If you don't provide us all technology of nuclear energy, then we will continue our nuclear armaments program.
Yeah.
And America agreed due to threat to provide all such support. And still, I feel political scientists and politicians in America and West European, they are having 2 or 3 issues only before them. Number 1, the increasing economic power of Japan. Number 2, the increasing military power of 2 or 3 developing countries. Number 3, the increasing economic strength and human resource strength of China.
Yeah, but how are you going to meet that challenge? Do we have the means to do it? And how are you going to acquire these means? And what kind of means you will have to acquire to stop them in their tracks and share everything, you see, that this planet has equally. I am not saying for a moment that classless society is possible in this world. There isn't going to be a classless society in this world at all. The communists tried it and totally failed. There isn't going to be any classless society. There isn't going to be any free society. Ultimately, the whole thing boils down to one basic thing: the exploitation of the natural resources of this world to their advantage at the expense of other nations. There is no way you can make them see the absurdity of what they are doing. All these are empty words and empty phrases. They will use anything to fool us all.
The World Bank has been projecting that Indonesia, China and India will be major economic forces by
Do you believe
20
that?
years from now.
What makes you think that India
Under
is...
projections by these very well...
They are just, you see, they are like, you see, the predictions of an astrologer. That's all.
Can you put them on the same level?
On a lower level. Then the astrologers predicting the future of the individuals.
What Mr. Weiss is saying, and there is no denial about that. I think what he's saying, I may like to repeat the same.
Yes.
There is a scientific
What is so scientific about their statements that they are...
What Mr. Bayes is saying.
I mean, there are
What is the
people who are
scientific...
made on the basis of the economic, these economic studies.
Statistics is there. The Japan, Indonesia,
Sir,
Korea,
that
which
is-
emerge as a big economic power.
It is not in their interest to achieve that goal. They are just talking. Where is the guarantee that they will continue to be the toadies of these powerful nations? What makes you think that is going to be a fact? Huh? What will happen after 30 years? Nobody knows. As I see it, India has no chance of any kind to play any role effectively in the affairs of the world.
Coming years, no possibility.
As I see it. And what makes it impossible for this country is the stranglehold of the religious thinking on the part of the millions of people. You know, it is not going to disappear at all.
Well, I would like to comfort myself that
You can combat it.
the World Bank seems to predict that India will be a very major force by the next century, 20.
And you swallow that?
I mean, I would like to believe that.
Yeah,
It's a kind of, as you say, a prediction made by an astrologer.
And you and I will not be there after 40 or 50 years.
Usually what you say, can we not put together your views or a sensible views of myself and Mr. Mai's word? In other words, that why not we approach people of this world for elimination of armaments, for elimination of military and police force, more freedoms, equalities. I am not going to fight democracy and fascism and communism. More democracy, more freedoms, more elimination of all controls. Because I think you will agree with us that controls are not good thing. Because we were having before socialist system, socialist
pattern of society.
Not even socialist
Nehru
system.
talked all.
Nehru talked all such nonsense.
And what a mockery it was.
Yeah.
And what is the result of it all?
Yeah.
Where are we today?
And similarly, I will come to that area also of social institutions also. But now I want to finish this political institutions and national alliance and national patterns. Don't you think that if we take say, or what you say, we people should call for elimination of all armaments. We should call for sharing of the economic power. We should share our economic and technological advancement of the world. We should have more active role of United Nations. We should have more democratic regional representation in United Nations. I am talking the 5-6 things without covering democracy and human rights. What you say, will it not be sufficient if we say about international affairs? If we should follow these things, only then we can have prosperity in the world.
I am afraid it is just daydreaming and it is not going to happen. A mutual friend of Bertrand Russell and I brought us together. Those were the days when he was carrying a propaganda against the hydrogen bomb, you know. And I asked him one question. I am asking you one basic question. Are you going to do away with the policeman? You understand?
Yes.
And hydrogen bomb is an extension of the policeman. So we have to draw this line somewhere and separate these two things, the policeman and the hydrogen bomb. I'm sorry, I'm not interested in what you are doing, because first of all you must do away with the policeman. You are not going to do it. That's why I say I am a thief. I have stolen everything that belongs to everybody on this planet, and I need a policeman to protect what I have stolen. You know, I am not ready to accept that I am a thief and call everybody a thief. So he has become a very rich man now. From the lower middle class, he jumped into the top rich people. Is he ready to part with what he has acquired through any means he adopted, fair, foul, it really doesn't matter. Is he ready to part with it? He is not ready to part with it. He wants the richer people to part with what they have grabbed for themselves. This is the basic issue that we have to deal with. That we are going to achieve this dream of doing away with the police, doing away with the nuclear weapons. It's not going to happen. They can force us to sign pacts saying that they will not produce nuclear weapons anymore. What are they doing? They are still carrying on experiments there, these nations, nuclear powers, and they are not ready to destroy their weapons. But how do you think this dream will become a reality?
You think that even after Second World War, even after so much democratization, even after officers in masses for realizing human rights, the United States and other countries, you can call corrupt countries, are acting like policemen, and they want to govern whole world as a policeman, ignoring United Nations sanctions or misusing United Nations. What do you say?
First of all, you must abolish the United Nations. What kind of a voice all these underdeveloped nations have? Can India, can Indonesia, can Korea veto the resolutions they pass to attack a small country like Somalia or Grenada? Do you have any voice there? Are we ready to do away with the United Nations? The United Nations has become a very powerful instrument for them to use and exploit the whole world. No?
There is a report here.
Sir, don't forget about
very,
what?
Very interesting. See, there is the International Commission of Global Governance.
We are not politicians, we are not scientists.
A group of 28 eminent independent experts who reported the future of the world.
They met in Delhi yesterday.
They said something interesting. Globalization is in danger of widening the gap between the rich and the poor. This is a sophisticated, increasingly affluent world currently coexists with the known. Roughly 30% of the world workforce, some 820 million people, is unemployed or underemployed. The highest ratio since the Great Depression of 1930s, according to the International Labour Organization. That means you're moving, hurtling towards further and further into
I will come to one thing,
Yes, sir.
which I have already given to 120 countries. In Hyderabad we decided. And what Mr. Marispat has also said, for realizing that social development in the world, what we have to do, and I think you have said in different words, that economic and social condition which should be promoted towards greater social and political stability. This will contribute to stemming the flow of refugees, internally displaced persons, migrants, diminishing ethnic, religious and nationalist tensions, preventing conflict and war, and reducing the need for humanitarian assistance and peacekeeping missions. What do you say about this?
There is no point in...
After creating economic and social conditions, can we realize these things?
You may say that I am a pessimist, that I am cynical, but that is not going to happen at all. For the simple reason that the gap that is becoming wider and wider is bound to be there and will become wider and wider as the years go by.
That seems to be the trend.
Then another thing.
So how are you going to stop it? You see, what kind of the only thing that they can understand and they will understand is the counterforce.
But you see,
Nothing else. All this talk is empty talk.
how can you, that resentment that I feel as a have-not, and I see in my area somebody very affluent.
Let's not use those words, haves and have-nots.
How will I implement my threat?
Are you,
I feel. How will I implement
are you
it?
going to part with what you have acquired by foul means?
No, I will not.
You are not
I will
ready.
fight.
And why you are talking in general terms? Why do you expect the United States to give us?
What I am saying is, what is mine, what is yours is also mine.
Yes, certainly. You see, they want us, people living in the slums, to give up everything you have. And one fellow there has two parts, and he's not ready to part with one part to help his neighbor there.
So what are you saying? The human nature doesn't want to part with.
Don't talk of human nature and all that kind of a thing. This is good for a schoolboy's discussion.
So what do you want
And
to do?
politicians and scientists gather together and dish out these empty phrases, that's all.
Then you
What
mean
is-
to say, Yuji, that we don't have any solution to the welfare or the peace in this world immediately.
Not only immediately, never.
Then you think this
I am
world
not
is,
a pessimist.
you think that this world is made for collapse only or for destruction only?
I think it has gone too far, and there is no way you can reverse the way the whole thing is moving.
You think
In
still
fact,
after...
what we get enough evidence that all technological leaps we are making is furthering, pushing it further.
They are.
It doesn't seem to be arresting or stopping things.
No, not at all.
Because
It's pushing it further.
one place we find approval.
Whatever they are doing
It's accelerating.
is not only accelerating, you cannot stop it because you are involved in that. You are the beneficiary. You are the beneficiary. That's why I say the middle class people must be eliminated. Even then there will be two types, the rich and the poor. The poor will become poorer and poorer. The rich will become richer and richer.
You agree with the Marx? Yeah, just a minute. You agree when you talk, because I heard you talking about middle class and they got benefits. I think you go very close to Marxist approach, which says this middle class is bourgeois class and it is always collaborating ruling class.
No, that's all. I have never been an admirer of Karl Marx, although I read that book. And I followed the course of events in Russia and other communist countries.
You're an admirer of Mao Zedong.
No, let's not talk about that now. You see, but what I am pointing out that it is just not possible to create a classless society. It is not possible to create a stateless state at all. We have seen it happen in our own time. This is easy to put that label on me and call me a communist, or you say a follower of this system or that system. That's the easy way for you. I am not interested in winning you over to my point of view. All right. In all the interviews that I give to the TV people and radio people and journalists, newspapers in the whole world, and I meet scientists, psychologists, philosophers, politicians, name it. I have lived with sages, saints, saviors of mankind, the murderers, the rapists, the conmen, the thieves. You see, I know, I have been around, I have seen the whole world. I am not impressed by all this talk at all. As long as there is a single person on this planet who does not have the basic needs, food, clothing, shelter, I am not impressed by anything these people say. You can produce statistical evidence that we are moving in this direction towards, you see, a happier society, and everybody will be fed. How long do you want us to wait for that kind of a thing? In India, they accomplished this feat of keeping those people, the starving people, to make, you see, a virtue of their starvation and their misery by telling them that they did something terrible in their past life, and that they have to make a virtue of their sufferings in this life, and in their next life they will have everything plenty. Very clever people here in India. Very clever people.
Is it a balm that has worked, or it's a drug which has destroyed it?
What balm?
This particular concept that
Yes.
you did this in your past life,
Yes.
and that is why you should bear this burden, and that you will be rewarded if you do it gracefully in this life. Is it a kind of a philosophy which has worked as a balm and succeeded in nursing them, or is it a drug which is preventing them from doing what they should really be doing?
None of those words apply to the situation they find themselves in today. That was the cleverest way of keeping people there in their poverty without the basic things, food, clothing and shelter.
And they unshackle themselves.
And asking them to make a virtue of that. Tomorrow, in your next life, 40 years India has been free, and why there are 40 million people underfed? 100 million. I don't know. I don't even read the newspapers. I don't watch any of those things.
But is there a possibility of them unshackling themselves?
Are you interested in creating that kind of a world individually? That's all that I'm asking. I'm not talking to the politicians, scientists, and the journalists. They always say that is your point of view. All right, buddy, what about yours? Yours also is a point of view. And why do you call this a point of view? Can there be any meaningful conversation between these 2 points of view? You may be more intelligent than I am. You think you are more logical than I am. You try to impress me that you are more rational than I am. But basically, essentially, the fact is that you are trying those silly things called logic, rationality, and your cleverness, which is not really cleverness, to impress me. I am not interested in winning you over to my point of view, and you have no way of winning me over to your point of view. Why the hell we are carrying on this conversation? I am not referring to you. What is the point in all of you throwing all those empty phrases, reading pieces from the Time magazine, which perhaps is the widest circulation? How is it going to help the people who are starving? I am not on the side of the starving people. I know the people always ask me, what is it that you are doing? They ask me. Individually, there isn't a damn thing that anybody can do. Right? You can force me to stop saying those things, calling me this, that and the other. And you can even go to the extent of planting some drugs in my room and get the policeman to get me. You understand? Bring some bouncer and some gun and point it towards me and tell me not to say those things. Individually, there isn't a damn thing that you can do. It is not that I am a pessimist or any such thing. And secondly, you don't realize that collective means you become the enemy of you, not only the state, those people who have entrenched themselves in the power and those who do not want to lose their power. Individuals like you consider me a threat, a terrorist. You put all kinds of labels on me and you try to destroy me. You understand? Collectively, no chance. Individually, there isn't a damn thing that you can do. Terrorists. Why we are condemning terrorists today? You are familiar with the history of Israel. I am not anti-Semitic. I am not pro-Russian, pro-American, pro-Chinese. None of those labels you can put on me. But I am trying to point out that the moment you find yourself in the seat of power, all the others become your enemies. Take for example Israel. The present Prime Minister and his predecessor Begin, they were terrorists and they blew up 5-star hotel. Anybody that threatens their position becomes a terrorist today. I am not a politician. I am just observing these things. These are my observations. Brush them aside and say, oh, he is a cynic. What right he has to express opinions on everything from disease to divinity? He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything. Arafat will become the worst enemy.
So the scientific breakthroughs.
And I can say this without any fear or favor that Mandela will become the enemy of that country. He will do exactly the same things that they did, which put him there in prison for 30 years. I am not a prophet.
What will make him do that is power.
Power. When once you are in the seat of power...
So it's a catch-22 situation. You need power to
no,
make
you don't
things happen. And when you're in the seat of power, you become important.
No, not important.
The power is not necessary for eliminating poverty or other thing. What he's saying, whether it is a Mandela or white government, when power comes, then Mandela will also do the same.
Exactly the same thing. They are already doing it. So what is the answer? What is the solution? Is there any way?
So that is why you say, when anybody comes into power, shoot him.
No, but I don't mean it when people ask me, why you don't shoot them? I'm not interested in taking their place. Even if you kill that fellow, the Deputy Prime Minister is there ready to step into his shoes. Ready, is there. And I know I can't get into the seat of power. And I don't want my rival to get into the seat of power. So I bring the third man and put him there. That was how you see all the Prime Ministers in the recent times found themselves in the seat of power. When once you are there in the seat of power, you want to share that power with somebody else. You see, since I can't be there, I'll be happy and content with the Deputy Prime Minister or Vice President or this or the other. No, I am not presenting a very gloomy picture at all. That's the way the things are. What is it that you can do?
Yuji, now we go forward.
Yes, all right.
What I understand, I am not asking question, but I am simply coming to next question, which is very relevant. After hearing you, what you have spoken, you think that power, political institutions, political leaders, they are not meant for doing something good for the people?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. Next thing you say, there is a lot of exploitation by developed countries and these developing countries. next thing, what you said, that it is not something which should be done by leaders or something. What individual is doing also. You have spoken like that. Now I come to the question relating to individual. Because last 1 century, we see political institutions are there. Sometimes social institutions and political institutions react to each other. And we found the political institutions like democracy, equalism, communism, and now mixed economic and political institutions like free market economy. Even China is calling itself a socialist market economy.
Yes.
Now, after having this after having this Copenhagen declaration today, they have talked about social integration. Social integration, when they talk, they are saying even after so much prosperity, even after so much technological changes, even after growth in world economy and consumption in the world of the people, disparities there. I am not touching again the same thing you already answered. They find that institutions have become obsolete. Now I am coming to those institutions. I am coming to the institution of nation. It is political, but it has relation with the social institutions also. Because people say nation means relation to family institution, in relation to marriage institution, in relation to peace between one religious community, one religious society. I am not talking community. Community is very broad word. Religious society and another religious society. What you say, how these social institutions are affecting individual, because you have come now to this conclusion, not conclusion, you have indicated the individual means something.
But is there any individuality? Everything I say, everything I feel, everything I experience, everything I believe is put in there in the computer. Whether the religion has done it or political institutions have done it, it doesn't really make any difference. I don't know if I make myself clear. If you look at the history, the church dominated and exploited the people for centuries. They talked of love thy neighbor as thyself and used that and destroyed killed how many thousands and thousands of people in the name of love thy neighbor as thyself. And then when the monarchy took over, what happened? Exactly the same thing. And then they finished with the monarchy and the political institutions stepped in and they are doing exactly the same thing. Are they not?
Yeah. You see, do you think that social tension or social peace or social integration, I am again coming to or making more specific, the three factors are very relevant for making social violence or social disturbance or
I don't know, this is all too much for me. See, social institutions, social this, social that, I really don't understand what they actually mean, what you actually mean.
Because I feel if you remove society or social, then individual is nothing but a mechanical product only.
No, that is what I am saying. Individual is, you see, a machine.
I am coming to that one.
Yeah, it's a computer with an extraordinary innate intelligence of its own. This organism does not want to learn anything and know anything from anybody, whether he is a doctor or a psychologist or a scientist or a religious man. It is not interested in that at all.
Then why people are so crazy about one religion or their religion? Number one, why people are crazy about keeping intact the institution of church, like Catholics are opposing abortion in America and in all throughout world? Why Hindus and Muslims in South Asia are fighting because they say certain symbol of religion is more important than life of the people?
Why is it so?
Because you are just talking about
the unity of India is more important than anything else here, and in the name of one country, one nation, you are killing hundreds and thousands of people. Why you are doing that? And why, you see, somebody should kill a doctor there in the United States who aborted a woman, the baby, for whatever reason she wanted to abort the child, was killed by some madcap. And these politicians use anything and everything. Do you mean to say that BJP, I don't even know what's going on here, this is a political party, are really interested in protecting Ayodhya and some Rama's temples? They are using them for political purposes. They really don't believe in Rama. Not at all.
See, we using God for a movie, hit. Or a cause.
So just the way this man, a very successful movie director, using the sufferings of the people, the misery of the people, the tragedies of the people in their individual lives, to entertain me and make money. I am not against that at all. That's what I tell him most of the time. Please, for goodness sake, don't try to educate people. You entertain them. How are you going to entertain them? By using these slums there, how the people are suffering. That's what he is doing. I am not against that. I want to be entertained. I find some sympathetic chord in those people who are acting my role there. I don't know if I make myself clear.
And giving them some hope at the end.
Yes, he is making money, fine. You see, it's all right with me. And they all condemn him, saying that he is copying from this, copying from that. One of these days, the computers will find out the source of all your material, how you have modified that, how you have been very clever to place the words in different places. That is why I am telling him that there is no such thing as creativity, there is no such thing as originality. Don't quote the source, you will be original. And all this talk of intellectual property rights is a sham mockery. Some nations can sign it and some other nations can be forced and bullied into to sign that, what they call the intellectual rights, copyrights. But you don't observe them. Why you don't observe them? Why you want to force them to sign all those things? What for? I know for certain that there is not one word which I can call my own, not one thought which I can call my own, not one experience which I can call my own. All of them are put in this computer. Nothing else. Nothing else. Everything is copied from somewhere or the other. Even the painters who are top painters in their field, if you ask them, are you not copying something that is there in the nature? They certainly admit. You see, they are like those people who look at those leaves. There are 4 leaves, small, tiny, weeny plants there. And they are looking for, they say that they just stumble into that kind of a thing. But actually and factually, they are looking to find that kind of a thing there and say, there it is. And they don't admit that they have always been looking for that particular thing to pick it up and show to everybody. In exactly the same way, the painter is always looking for some ideas, copying something and come up with the painting which he thinks it is something extraordinary and original. Only in nature you can find that it is not using anything as a model. When once the nature has perfected something, it throws it out and then starts all over again. But we are using models in every field of our human thought. I don't know if I make myself clear.
I can understand what you say, that there is nothing uniqueness about individual.
Nothing.
Number 1. Number 2, what you are saying, that nobody can say that there is anything like liberty or freedom of individual.
Yes, no.
What people professing human rights and other things they are calling. Because scientific revolution has brought to this situation that everything can be put in computer and we are copying or we are stored.
Yeah. They will find out one day
find out also
that there is nothing original to my claims.
Yes.
So it's just like me robbing everything that belongs to every abundance that is there on this planet for myself and telling myself and others that I am here for a nobler and grander purpose than the mosquito, the female mosquito that is interested in your hemoglobin to perpetuate the continuity of the mosquitoes. We are no different. Not only that, we are made to believe that the whole thing is created for the benefit of man. Not at all. We are exploiting the resources of this world, and in the long run we are going to destroy ourselves. You have all kinds of programs on the TV telling us, the media hype it is to tell us that the planet is in danger. The planet is not in danger at all. Why they are telling us that the planet is in danger? We are in danger. You see, if we are wiped out by some bacteria they are talking about, it's no loss to the planet at all. All these bodies, millions and millions of bodies, are useful only for one purpose, recycling them to increase the energy level in this universe. No other purpose. So take for instance, let me complete this, that if you take the plants and animal species on this planet, what we have today amongst the plants is 1 point of things that existed before. If you take animals into consideration, 0.5, or maybe it's the other way around, I don't know, I'm not for sure, of the animals that existed before. This sham mockery, I call it. Those people who are interested in, you see, the animals, the extinction of some particular kind of animals, it's all bosh and nonsense. They are not really interested in saving the animals at all. They want to use that to collect funds. It may sound very cynical, but the fact of the matter is that they want to exploit, telling us that they are interested to see that a particular animal is not extinct. So if the human species is completely wiped out totally, I'll be the first one to go by the bacteria. Nothing is lost for this planet. So they are telling us that the planet is in danger is a media hype, and we all fall for that kind of a thing.
UGS, we are in midst of preparation for another conference in BC on women, which is discussing equality for women. We are discussing development and peace. Again, I am just telling you, this United Nations effort for last 10 years, starting from Rio conference on environment, came to population, then they came to human rights, and today they have finished social development issues. Now they are concentrating on women issue in relation to women's equality and their development and peace. And we are confronting the same situation. Social peace is a problem again. And we find that social institutions, they are saying in their declaration, in social, they want to defend social institutions like marriage and other things. And they say if women should participate equally. This is one thing. Number two,
this is too much. I cannot follow you. I want to ask you one question. Are women really interested in that kind of a thing? Really? And why do they allow these commercials to exploit sex? I want to know. Why do they have to use sex and women to sell some salt, a substitute for the real salt? All these commercials.
They are not allowing exploitation.
Why are they using sex?
They want to remove the taboo of sex. They say this is a natural thing.
Why?
And these directors are exhibiting those things.
Why women allow that kind of a thing to go on?
They're deliberately using it because
Why the women also like that? I'm not blaming. I'm on their side. You see, why do they allow this kind of a thing to go on? That's all that I'm asking.
Because it sells usually.
Why talk of, you see?
Sex sells. Everybody uses it.
Why don't you admit that one?
Pepsi Cola and all these things because we like the taste of the Pepsi Cola.
Fine. What chemicals they use to make that habit forming is anybody's guess.
We use
Why should they import?
We use anything that makes us self-aware.
That I understand.
The movie must become a success.
No. Why you?
Sex, God.
Listen. Why you are not honest enough to admit that I'm out to exploit everything that is available to me to achieve my ulterior goes.
Privately we do, but,
No.
but in the interviews we have to pretend because pretensions is the way of life.
A whole bunch of those people who are interviewing you
We have to pretend to them, otherwise they
are
cannot-
jokers, a bunch of jokers. They have to make a living like you.
Because the leader also pretends.
Come on, they are using you. Huh?
Don't you think that this communication people and this includes film people also
Yes.
and television people also, they are not interested for presenting any solution or anything because they don't have any solution.
No, there is fact.
What they are doing, they are exhibiting what are the realities. This is human. I don't say psychology, but human nature. And you have said already.
Yes.
The dogma, religious institution, they cannot change.
Listen, let me tell you something. This human nature you are talking about can never be changed through the use of anything that is available to us so far. Right? If really you are interested in changing the human beings into whatever you want them to be, it is possible only through the help of genetic engineering. I said this before, and I am always emphasizing this point of view. But at the same time, there is a danger in that. You see, they will hand over whatever they have discovered to the state, and the state will not hesitate to use them to make people do the things they want them to do. So there is no other way. I do not want to emphasize this point. All this is some sort of a neurological disorder in the human brain. Why it is so, I don't know, I cannot make. Forget about all these brain physiologists, they don't know a damn thing about brain. They may not say that this fellow is talking some nonsense. It's all right with me. But they have never looked at a brain functioning exactly the way it is. You study the dead brains, or you use instruments, some scanning, I don't even know what they use. And whatever you see there is the projection of your own ideations and meditations on them. I have known people praising that meditation is something extraordinary. It is not the same that you experience when you take drugs. They show you all those readings. But what they are reading is what they are trying to impose on us, saying that that meditation is quite different from the taking drugs.
So we are always seeing things as we want them to be.
You want to see. That is why
Never as they are.
I am telling you one basic thing. I started with this, but we didn't have a chance to record it. Yesterday, we went to the airport in my friend Major's car, and suddenly he saw some bright sun there. I was sitting next to him. Both of us were there in the car. He looked at the sun and said, "What an extraordinary bright sun we have there." I asked him a question. I was sitting next to him, and I also, if I may use the word quote and unquote, looked at it, not the way he looked at it. What is the word? His was a reaction. Mine was a physical response to the sun out there. So it was so bright that it would damage the eyes. Suddenly you close the eyelids and you don't see the sun. And this man's reaction was born out of his ideas about that. What a wonderful bright sun. So I will tell you something. No matter what these physicists tell us, physiologists tell us, the eye specialists tell us, you are sitting and looking at that tree. You see that the tree is flat and not round. They don't have the guts to brush aside totally and completely and wholly the idea of depth in them. You understand? There is no three-dimensional space at all. The physical eye cannot see three-dimensional space. It cannot see the space at all. So all this talk of horizon is absolute rubbish. So it is like that flat. You look at that San Francisco map there. The physical eye sees that exactly the way it is there, and not the depth, not the beauty, not the blue sky there. So all these people, so Einstein's theories must be thrown out. Don't talk of fourth dimension to me. Even third dimension does not exist to the physical seeing of things through the help of our eye. I don't care what they say. They may say that I am saying some nonsense, but one of these days They have to come to terms with it. What all we have read is absolute rubbish. They are not ready to accept. Somebody comes with some theory today and you award him a Nobel Prize.
So whether it's a religious man
Or
or
a
a scientist or an artist, we are all
Or a
seeing
psychologist.
things, or we are all seeing things
Yes, one
as
of the-
we want them to be, not but not as they are.
Yeah. One of the
Selling whatever we want.
one of the psychologists is going to interview me there in California University. She's one of the top psychologists. Her name is Margaret Singer or something like that. She has expressed some wish to see me and record an interview. And she's publishing a magazine called Cultist Magazine or something. I am going to tell that lady, look lady, you are a cultist. There is nothing to your psychological approach to the human problems at all. Is she ready to swallow that? Not at all. I am going to tell a scientist, a top scientist, if he comes to see me, look buddy, don't talk all that nonsense to me. There is no such thing as space. There is no such thing as matter. There is no such thing as time. But what is called four-dimensional space-time continuum. Once a scientist visited me, and he talked in that strain to me. All these scientific theories which you are throwing out at people are no different from the metaphysicians coming out with those silly, idiotic stuff. You are not different. I will give you a crude example. I asked him, are you ready? You are about to make love to your wife or your girlfriend. If there is no space, what happens to your love making? He stopped in his tracks. What you are saying is true. Do you know what it means? He said, my whole scientific thinking collapses today. He admitted that. The psychologist comes and sees me, the top ones from different universities for their own reasons. I tell them, there is no such thing as mind at all. Your analysis is only paralyzing people. You are no different from the priest there who is listening to all the misery of these people, suggesting some prayers, asking them to do this, that and the other. How are you different from that? He says, what you are saying is true, but we want to believe that you are wrong. What will happen to me? I am earning $3,000 a day, meeting all these people. I have to go and give lecture there in the university college. What will happen to me? He said, do it. Don't tell me that you have the answers for the human problems at all. This analysis is paralyzing the people. You know? So I am not impressed by, we admire science only because their discoveries have resulted in technology. We have that TV camera there. We have this Sony tape recorder here. This is all. And all this is not benefiting the common man. I am not a communist. I don't give a damn for communism. When I visited Russia, I knew that it was a nation of slaves and that the whole nation would collapse. Not that I was a prophet or anything. I watched what was happening there. China is different. We don't want to go into that at all.
So you don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. You see inside tunnel at the end of the light. You don't see any light at the end of the tunnel.
There is no
21st
tunnel
century.
there. You imagine that you are in a tunnel.
21st century, there is, as we're talking about.
It is not, you may say that I am pessimistic, but next century is not going to be any better. If we survive for another 100 years, that is doubtful. I am no prophet. Even if the world is destroyed, there isn't going to be any paradise on this planet, just the way all these the priests are talking about. Jehovah's Witnesses are saying it's going to be a wonderful planet. Sorry.
Ask me a single question.
And
According to the social development if you imagine that a particular thing means all the individuals who are the richer persons, if they give up all the wealth to the poorer persons, is there going to be social development?
not at all. You see, that giving up things is the result of the guilt of the people who have stolen everything that belongs to everybody. Charity is one of the most vicious, vulgar, self-centered activity on the part of these people who give charity. You can start an institution like Mother Teresa and collect millions and millions of rupees, build tremendous institutions saying that she is helping people, and she can get a Nobel Peace Prize, but ultimately she will leave behind only a real estate, and people will fight for a share in that real estate. I know it's easy for you to put the label on me and call me a cynic. Not at all. A cynic's feet are very firmly fixed on this planet, more than anybody else. I'm just focusing, spotlighting certain things which we ignore in our desire to change the things around us. Even if you change yourself into something, that is what all these religious people are trying to tell us. You must change, you must become a better individual. You must become selfless. There is no such thing as a selflessness at all. Even the demand to be a selfless individual is born out of the demand to remain a selfish individual. He's only exploiting us, telling us that he's a selfless person, I'm a selfish man. So I feel sorry and feel miserable because he's a selfless man. He's just talking about selflessness, but he's as selfish as anybody else in this world. So, are there any easy answers for our problems today? What are the problems? I don't see any problems. All is right with this world. I don't see anything. When once the demand to bring about a change in you comes to an end, the demand to change the world also comes to an end. As far as I am concerned, I don't care what they call me. I am not in conflict with this society at all. I am not in conflict with the value systems we have today. And why is it that these people want to fit themselves into that value system? And why they cannot fit themselves into the value system? I know the whole value system is rotten. And at the same time, why I am not in conflict with that value system? Why you are in conflict with that system? You are a lawyer. I will never initiate any legal procedure to get anything from you. You can call me up in the court saying that I committed something which endangers the society. That's an illegal action. I will most willingly come there and expose myself to whatever you want to say and what punishment you will give me. So ignorance is no excuse. Ignorance of law is no excuse for anybody.
You mean to say that regulation or regulating society through moral principles which are enforced by law? What is law? Law sometimes retain few moral principles enforced through law, police, state.
Yes.
You mean to say that there can be society of people. I say why I'm using society include people also, but I say society of the people, where there are no moral principles, no laws which includes moral principles, no enforcement of the state. The state used to enforce through force only. What do you mean?
The living organism, and human body is a living organism like any other organism on this planet. It is in perfect harmony. You see, this organism's survival depends upon the survival of the organism that is living on this body and also the life around it. You understand? So, let me tell you one thing, that all the members of my family except two, both on my father's side and mother's side, are lawyers. I come from a family of lawyers. I was the first one to break this great tradition of lawyers. And I'll give you an instance. I don't know if it is going too far. My grandfather, mother's father, was a very successful lawyer in Andhra Pradesh. Top one in Gudivada. He lived there in Gudivada. And I, as a little boy, discovered that everything I want is what they wanted me to want. I want money, and I don't want to depend upon them, and they are the only source for me. I was an young boy, 7, 8, I don't remember, and he's using that to control me, either by denying that money or giving the money to me, what I wanted. I didn't like that kind of a relationship with the source of my money, you know. So then I asked him one day, I'm going to take some money from your chest of drawers. Don't call me a thief. You see, you know. So he said, you cannot do it. and he locked up his lawyer. And the next day, a boy of 9 years old went to a locksmith and had a duplicate key made and presented him with this duplicate key. You know, he looked at me and he said, I see a lot of criminal tendencies in you. Huh? We haven't had any criminal lawyer in our family. We all have been very successful civil lawyers. I see some criminal tendencies in you. If one wants to be a success as a criminal lawyer, he must also be a criminal. You know, and then I told him, look here. He said, I don't have to use this duplicate key. And he said, all right, you take whatever money you want and leave a note there saying how much you have taken. So, you see, the law is invented by us. You see, I found that all the lawyers in my family were crooks. I'm sorry. There may be some exceptions. When I discovered this, I didn't want to be a lawyer at all. So you are talking of moral codes of conduct. The religious people...
The law is nothing but moral principles.
Extension, the warty outgrowth of the failed moral codes of conduct.
Or social engineering. Law is social engineering.
I don't want to use high-sounding words and phrases because the religious man put a policeman inside of you. If you disobeyed the policeman, he called you a sinner and you will pay the price in your next life. So you have some time to carry on with your kind of whatever you are doing to break the moral course of conduct. We have in our modern day society a policeman. The policeman is outside there. He can easily be corrupted. You know, if he fails, there is an army there. If the army fails, there is always, you see, other weapons to control me. So how is law different from that? Supposing I said this several times before, I am never tired of repeating this. You give a judgment. You haul me up saying that I am a thief. All right, you punish me. Or I occupy this house and claim that this is my property. So you take me to the court and tell me, get out of that place. If you don't do it, I will use force and throw you out. So ultimately, it is the force that we have to use to control people, to make them do the things we want them to do the way we want them to do. So how is this different? I am not against the legal codes of conduct. I know a lot more about them than most people do because I grew up in a family of lawyers. You know. So what do we do with this? Why are we so concerned about the legal institutions? Tell me. Why the judge's decision based upon the precedents is something extraordinary? These are all clever bastards, I'm sorry, trying to prove that he's more intelligent than the adversaries there. I'm not against that law or any such thing.
You mean to say that nothing like independence of judiciary, or you mean judiciary is not so important institution?
Yes, not at all.
Keep people at peace,
yes,
at harmony.
Yes.
I think, am I correct? No?
Yes, you are. If religion failed totally, what makes you think that law
I agree.
is enforced on us through force is going to succeed?
This is my experience of 24 years.
Yes.
I'm in practice, right from district court, taluka courts to Supreme Court I have appeared. And fortunately, unfortunately, I'm president of one regional organization of Asia Pacific region. I have full agreement with you that this whole judicial institution or legal institution or legislature is nothing
but a farce. Farce it is.
And it has not achieved anything.
Yeah, we give some dignity to it and make it sacrosanct what religion has failed to achieve.
Correct.
And this is always your decisions, your judgments are backed by force. No?
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
Then
No.
I agree with you this thing. Similarly,
So
pluralistic society is enforcing certain things on individuals. Similarly, the state through judiciary or enforcing this machinery
Yes.
is using judiciary also
Yes.
for enforcing certain things which they think they are.
No, we have invented another institution to control people. Huh? So, this is all created by those people who ganged up together and interpret law in their favor, not in my favor. Do they?
Yeah.
So I am frightened of the consequences, and so I try to obey the law. But as far as I am concerned, I am not interested in breaking the law at all. However idiotic and stupid the whole structure is. Huh? So what do we do in such a situation?
There is a UG in the same our discussion. I have heard some philosophers speaking or social scientists speaking about compassion. Is there anything like compassion which brings society together or nature together or environment together, or it is a very natural nature of a person? Do you think like that?
No is my emphatic answer. No.
Then I will not go further.
Force is the only thing that make people to do the things the way we want them to do.
Now,
So that is why anytime any people come to see me to discuss their personal problems, I never discuss personal problems at all, because they don't want any solutions for their problems. They want to hear me, hear them to their sob stories. I tell them, look, the situation as I see it is simply this. There is no such thing as our way. Your way or my way. There is no such thing as our way. So in such a situation, one has to compromise and go along with the way of the other person involved in my relationship.
naturally.
You remember when Gandhi talked of, the inner voice. Inner voice dictated me to start this movement, non-violent movement. And all his non-violent movements ended up in violence. You like it or not?
It happened. History.
It happened. That is history. You see, I am not interpreting anything. I am just mentioning the way all his movements ended up. And then he said, I committed an Himalayan blunder. A few months after, he started another thing. And people asked him, why you are doing the same thing? This time also is the same inner voice speaking to you to start another movement? He said, life is a series of compromises. He was a very clever fellow, you see. And so that is the way, you see, they force these things on us, and they exploit the gullibility and credulity of the people. Whether it is a religious man, or a politician, or a psychologist, or a scientist, or a doctor. You see, the doctors may not like what I am going to say now. I always say that, look here, the modern is the medicine is nothing but a warty outgrowth of the witchcraft, and the doctors we have in our midst today are nothing but witches, modern day witches. They are not ready to listen to that, and they tell you that this fellow is talking some gibberish. But it is not gibberish. All this medication that you are giving it to this living organism is destroying the innate capacity of the body to take care of itself. The innate thing it is born with is destroyed by the medication. But we are all paranoid people. In America, you see all these commercials. They said 9 out of 10 doctors. It used to be 3 out of 4. And I tell those people, you just forget the 10th one and ignore the 9 doctors. They can be bought, these doctors. So we all fall for these commercials, you see. What do we do in such a situation? Individually, there isn't a damn thing that you can do. Collectively means you become the enemy of the whole nation. Individuals too, you see, because it is disturbing the status quo. What people are interested is to maintain the status quo. Anything that becomes a threat to the status quo is dubbed as the enemy of the state or the enemy of the individuals.
Now I will come to the area which is related but little specific and little different. You have been to China, and in the background of the situation, I will not touch political aspect too much, which I have already covered. That United States, West European countries, developing countries, and remaining countries, they all are looking to China for 2-3 reasons, like its population, its size, its culture, whatever you call culture, means traditions or whatever you call it, their way of living or whatever, and the economic progress and their way of thinking. And since Arnold Toynbee, who wrote a study of history,
Yes.
he could not write what is going on now because he wrote long back. In background of the history, which you know the philosophy of popular in China. I'm not touching philosophical aspect. But what you find distinct in China, which are close to your thinking.
You see, I didn't want to go to Russia at all, although I was an admirer of Mao Zedong. But every time I was on television or radio or talked to the newspapers, they always ask me the questions, you have been everywhere, what country you like most? I said I've been everywhere in the world except China. And I happened to be in Hong Kong and suddenly decided that I should drop that rider that I have been everywhere except China and see for myself. What impressed me most in that country, I have never been impressed or fooled by anything that we read in these magazines and the media outside China. What impressed me most there was Mao Zedong succeeded in destroying this stranglehold of Confucius in that country. That was a remarkable achievement. I'm not interested in how many people are killed. We are killing people. Whether they are killed for the cause of communism, or killed for the cause of 4 freedoms, or killed for the democratic institutions, or for religious reasons, killing is killing. And what I do not want people to do is, don't talk of sacredness of life. The unity of this country, you are killing people. The communism, they are killing people. They condemn Russia because they killed so many young people there in the Tiananmen Square. But why 4 boys were killed in America, in Alabama or somewhere, when they condemned America and America's role in Vietnam? So whether you kill 4 or 4,000 or 4 million, it really doesn't impress me at all. So what impressed me most was that they have succeeded in a strange way eliminating the stranglehold of Mao Zedong there. I don't know if you don't find Mao Zedong's photos anywhere except in that square, and some old taxi drivers still have his photo on their dashboards. That impressed me most. And another thing is, I'm not interested in any political system, in any religious stuff that they are dishing out, as long as people are not fed and clothed and sheltered. Yes. I'm not impressed by anything they are telling me. At least to that extent, communistic systems succeeded in feeding them. At what cost is a different matter. You may think that they killed so many people, Stalin killed so many people. That doesn't impress me at all. We have no right either for humanitarian reasons or for religious reasons or any reason that you can come up with to allow a person to starve and deny him the basic things, shelter and clothing. I'm not impressed by anything else. So how you are going to achieve that goal? We have been brainwashed to believe that they are going to achieve this goal. When one generation is finished here in this country, and they are all on the increase today, and you are giving me all the statistical figures, you have opened the door to let market economy or whatever, I'm not even familiar with those phrases, into this country. but it is not going to be anything different at all. You always say that you are pessimistic, you are this, that and the other. That's an easy way out for the people. Instead of looking at what I am trying to focus. So I am only interested in focusing certain things. I am not swayed by anything they say about their solutions. They are offering to change the whole face of the earth. It has not succeeded so far, and I have no illusions that they are going to succeed in the next century. You can call me, put a label on me, a pessimist, but basically, essentially and fundamentally, whatever they are saying, through any instrument they are coming up, is going to change the face of the earth.
In morning you spoke one subject about marriage institution, what you observe in China. Number two, you spoke that Chinese way of life is different than other developing countries, because China is also part of developing countries and it has a long, whatever you call, religious heritage or cultural heritage, whatever. But how it is able to not respecting social institutions like marriage, where I find most of the Asian countries are recognizing and making it legal also or constitutional religious principles, religious dogmas, including marriage institution. How they were able to overcome this situation? You find anything due to communist system they were able to achieve this thing, or any other reason?
It is not the communist system or democratic institutions that are involved in dealing with this age-old institution of marriage. Have they succeeded in the Western nations? Not at all. So as I always maintain that it is